I'm going to talk about leadership styles, and the first leadership style that I'm going to talk about is the contingency leadership style. Now, the contingency leadership style is based on the idea that leadership styles should not be changed, they should be constant. It is the context of the job that should be changed. Since the contingency leadership theory believes that a leader should not change their style but the context of the job, the contingency leadership model was developed to determine whether or not a leader was task-based or relationship-based. And then they would take those two styles and try to match it to the job. The difficulty with the contingency leadership theory and model as Fiedler conceptualized it is that there are only two styles, and those two styles don't always match up with the job. The bottom line for me as it relates to Fiedler's contingency theory and model is that it's almost impossible for anybody to change the context of their job. It's more likely that we will be able to change our leadership styles to adapt to different situations. The next leadership theory that I would like to talk about briefly is also a contingency theory, and it is called continuum theory. Continuum theory, developed by Tenenbaum and Schmidt, stated leadership is based on a continuum from boss-centered leadership to subordinate-centered leadership. Because we're talking about a continuum, there is an element of time that impacts this continuum. The continuum allows for a multitude of different styles depending on the situation and is not bound by two styles like Fiedler confined his theories to two styles. For example, if a leader is not bound by time constraints, the leader could use a more democratic leadership style that allows followers to provide their input into any given situation. However, if a leader is bound by some stringent time constraints, the leader will want to limit the amount of input from followers, or the leader may want to just take more of an autocratic approach and make the decision himself or herself without the input of any followers. The next leadership theory I would like to talk about is called the path-goal leadership theory. What I like about this theory is that House attempted to explain how the behavior of the leader influences the performance and satisfaction of the followers. It just so happens that I'm currently managing a situation within my own organization that verifies the truth of House's statement about the influence that a leader has on their followers and their followers' performance and satisfaction. So I have a leader, and they have two direct reports. These two particular direct reports have the same job title and the same function. So one direct report, she gives meaningful work to. She allows that direct report to function in their role and perform the duties of their role and without interfering. So essentially, she gives that person a project, and that person works that project all the way to the end, and the leader does not interfere with her. The second person that she manages, she micromanages. She gives that person work that's not meaningful, and then she interferes every step of the way instead of allowing her to work from beginning to end in a project. So she interferes every step of the way, and by the end of the project, the person can't figure out what they've done because she continually interferes in the project. So as you can imagine, the person that the leader does not micromanage is very satisfied with their job and is performing at or above expectations. The person that she micromanages and interferes with her project every step of the way, this person is dissatisfied with their role, and they are performing below expectations. Unlike Fiedler's two-style contingency model, the path-goal model utilizes four leadership styles and applies them according to the situation. The four styles are directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. The model focuses on motivating followers in two ways. One, clarifying with the employee their path to the rewards that are available, or two, just increasing the amount of rewards that the employee values. So, for example, if an employee knows that their merit increase will be between 3% and 5%, most employees will be motivated to achieve the 5%. And it's up to the leader to explain to the employee what they need to do in order to perform, what they need to do from a performance perspective in order to achieve the 5%, which is path clarification. Or the leader can determine what type of rewards the employee values and simply increase the number of those rewards to influence improved performance from the employee. The last leadership theory I would like to discuss is the leadership substitute theory. Simply put, a substitute for leadership is anything that makes the presence of a leader unnecessary. For example, highly functional individual contributors who have a breadth of experience and education could act as leadership substitutes. Self-managed teams are another example of leadership substitutes. I would argue that when employees are functioning without a leader, they are not functioning in the absence of a leader, they're functioning as de facto leaders. The point of this theory really underscores the concept that leaders should be guiding those de facto leaders in areas that they are not familiar with, such as corporate culture or politics, or filling in where there are particular knowledge gaps. I don't think that I would try to implement any of these models within my organization. They're relatively restrictive and don't address any other leadership theories such as transformational or authoritative leadership. I'm a fan of leaders learning from their own experiences as leaders and defining and refining their own style. I know that it will be a combination of styles that they have learned along their journey, coupled with their education and possibly from a little mentoring and or coaching from people who have experienced some success in their chosen style. The chosen leadership theory that most leaders claim to adhere to in my organization is servant leadership. However, based on my observations, I think that these leaders do not practice a pure form of what you would call servant leadership. It's more or less a hybrid. Their foundational style may be a servant leadership style or some version of it, but it's also in conjunction with other styles such as transformational and or authentic leadership style. As with most, if not all theories, there are often critics which mostly talk about the lack of research data to establish a strong correlation between the models and the outcomes. This brings me to my final point. Leaders have to find their own foundational leadership style and be able to stretch into other styles according to the situational, people, or organizational needs.